Okay, so first question, when and how were you first introduced to hula?
I was first introduced to hula when I was 8. I used to be involved in like all those things that some people are fortunate enough to be involved with, like tap, jazz, ballet. I did a lot of ice skating, and I had several Filipino friends who also had family members who did hula. So when our ice skating time came to a close when I was a kiddo, then I fell into it. I followed a few of my Filipino friends into a hula class. Yeah.
Interesting. My mom's Filipino. She tried to get me into hula when I was little, but I was scared. I was really shy.
And your mom is a hula dancer as well, right?
My grandma.
Your grandma.
Yeah, she danced for Dole Pineapple.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. What was your first impression of hula?
I remember the first dance I ever learned was Ayala o Pele I Hawaii, was the Kahiko. And I was mesmerized by it. I loved the storytelling aspect. I immediately felt it's like the power of that song, even as a young kiddo who didn't really know. I didn't know much about the culture at the time, and I learned to appreciate the culture through that song to begin with. Just the mythology and the legends, the storytelling, and the imagery that we were working with, and the focus that you had to bring to it, the intensity.
What fundamental ideas were you taught about hula, other than just the physical movements?
Well, I've had several different teachers in kumu hula over the years, but it always starts, the way I learned was it always starts with aloha. It always starts with dancing and communicating through with the spirit of aloha, with a positive energy, and dancing to share when possible, and also acknowledging that you're a keeper of information, and so you have a responsibility to honor it and to do it correctly. And I mean, when I was 8, I didn't always dance. I was sometimes a lazy dancer at 8 and 9 years old. I didn't fully grasp that for a little while, but that was always something that was taught to me, is that when you do something, that your job is to tell the story, or else you lose the story if you can't tell it. So that was always really important. I learned that your hands have a place to be for a reason because of that storytelling. And I also learned that to be quiet and listen, to listen to the elders. They knew more about it than I did. Save my questions until it was appropriate, and to watch through emulation and mimicry, and really just try to adopt and adapt to those styles. So that was something that every one of my teachers taught me, from Cheryl Cook to Uncle John Manuia, who was a kumu hula in Sacramento, to Kimo Baird and his late wife, who was a kumu, and then to the person that I trained under formerly in Kawai Kapu, Kalani Hewitt. They all had that common thread. And they all believed in sharing hula, and but not everybody has that philosophy. Some people want to hold on to it and keep it protect it, and not have it like watered down through different through different like kitschy kind of showing of it, but the philosophy I learned about was different. It was that it could be shared, and you just do it justice.
So could you expand on what you said about when you learn you're a keeper of it and you have to honor it?
So hula is before formal language was before written language, I should say, was introduced to Hawaii. Hula served as the history book, right? And that's something I taught you, I'm sure, several times. And so if you want to understand where you're going, you have to be able to understand the past, and you need to know where you came from. So the stories, the songs, the hand movements, they all tell a story, and you need to know where your hands need to be so the story stays the same, so that you're not slowly editing the past or out of laziness, just dropping your hand or not being prepared, because you're changing the story. And I didn't write the story, so I don't get to change the story, and that is I think that's really important, is to know that there's certain things that you have to keep the way they've been taught to you, and there's certain things that you could change. There's as for me as a choreographer, I get to change some things, but there's certain dances that I won't ever touch because they're ancient, they're sacred. So I will not change a choreography on that. That's not mine to do.
Do you believe that hula is a way to preserve Hawaiian tradition? If so, why?
Absolutely, it's a way to preserve Hawaiian tradition. Everything. The tradition of hula started from. You take it back. It was a martial art. It was history. It was you learned about nature through. You learned about the gods. You learned about your chiefs. Without hula, you just lose so much. It's been said by King David Kalakaua that hula is the heartbeat of the Hawaiian people. Mm-hmm. So it's within people. And can you read that question again, just so I can see if I want to add anything to it?
Do you believe that hula is a way to preserve Hawaiian tradition?
So hula is also a way, I think, to share and teach about culture, about understanding, to celebrate. I don't think that, for me, and for the way that we've been dancing, especially as a mainlander, someone who lives here, I've never lived in Hawaii. I've only performed in Hawaii and I trained in Hawaii, but I'm not native to Hawaii. So I'm a visitor in that way. And I guess the way I learned is that it's okay. It's aloha is for everybody. So if you do things with aloha and you do things right and you learn, and you try to do things with pono, with righteousness, the right way, that it's okay. But again, that is not always shared by everyone. That is how I learned, that perspective.
How do you feel when you're dancing at Kahiko?
How do I feel? Not like myself. I feel like the characters. I feel like an extension of the movement. I try to see everything around me, and I've always felt like that, even when I was kind of a clunky little kid, dancing. I always felt somehow in my mind everything was clicking, everything fit, and you could feel the energy around you. If you were to watch videos of me, I'm sure I would not look like that, but that's how I always felt. And so it's the same thing. It just is a natural. That's the way I hear music and all of that. How do you feel when you do Kahiko?
I don't know, I feel the same way. Like when I was first learning, like even when I first took the class, I didn't expect to dance the first day because I've never been a dancer. Like I played soccer, that's all I did.
Right.
But I feel like it was something I really felt like deep down doing like the Kahiko, because I just felt like tied to my grandmother.
Yeah.
And it was something like I couldn't really explain it, put it into words. It's just something I felt like deep down, like a connection that was there. But I didn't know that was there.
Right.
So
that's wonderful. I think Kahiko is really special that